November 30th, 2013. A charity event in Santa Clarita, California. 5 words are spoken between 2 friends. 5 ordinary words. And within 60 seconds, one of those friends would be gone. This isn't a movie script. Paul Walker didn't have a stunt double for what happened next. Stick around because by the end of this video, you'll understand exactly what those final words were. Why a friend who was standing feet away still calls them strange. More than a decade later, and what happened in the moments after the cameras stopped rolling, because what came next changed how an entire franchise had to be finished. Let's go back to that afternoon. Paul Walker wasn't just a movie star that day. He was a man doing what he genuinely loved, and what would, hours later, take his life. The event was a fundraiser for Reach Out Worldwide, a disaster relief charity Walker himself had founded after the 2010 Haiti earthquake. This wasn't a publicity stunt. This was personal. His friend and business partner, Roger Rodas, had just driven a 2005 Porsche Carrera GT, a car with a reputation, even among professional drivers, for being brutally unforgiving, into the parking area outside Walker's car shop, always evolving. Now here's where it gets interesting. Walker hadn't been behind the wheel or even in the passenger seat of that particular Porsche before, so he walked up to Rodas. And according to his close friend Jim Thorpe, who was standing right there, Walker said it casually, almost too casually. "Hey, let's go for a drive." Sounds harmless, right? It's the kind of thing said 1,000 times a day in parking. Lots all over the world. Quick pattern interrupt. Because I know what some of you are thinking. A car guy wanting to drive a fast car. Groundbreaking journalism. Stay with me. Because it's not the words themselves that are chilling. It's everything they set in motion in the next 90 seconds. Rodas pulled out of the lot. Walker was in the passenger seat. Investigators later determined the car reached speeds estimated between 80 and 93 miles per hour on a road built for far less, and that's before the Porsche's rear tires, which had reportedly aged and hardened over time, lost their grip entirely. The car fishtailed. It struck a light pole, then a tree, then a second tree, and burst into flames. Here's the part that still haunts people who were there that day. Friends, including Jim Thorpe himself, ran toward the wreck. He has said he tried to get close enough to pull them out. Sheriff's deputies physically held him back. The flames were described as reaching 20 feet into the air. There was nothing anyone could do. So why do those 5 words, "Let's go for a drive," get remembered as chilling instead of just sad? Ever said, no drama, no warning. Just a guy excited to drive a car he hadn't tried yet. And that's the part that should genuinely unsettle you. Not a dramatic premonition, but the complete absence of one. Now, pause for a second and think about your own day so far. What's the most forgettable sentence you've said since you woke up? That's the unsettling part of this story. Final words are rarely poetic in real life. They're just words. But here's where the story takes a turn almost nobody talks about. At the time of his death, Walker was mid-production on Furious 7. The studio faced an impossible decision. Scrap a film with hundreds of millions already invested, or find a way to finish it. They chose the second option, using a combination of unused footage, CGI face-mapping technology, and Walker's own brothers, Cody and Caleb, as stand-ins for unfilmed scenes. Think about that for a moment. Walker's final on-screen performance was, in part, assembled after his death, his brothers physically stepping into his shoes so the story could reach an ending. And there's one more layer to this that audiences still bring up. On what would have been Walker's milestone birthday years later, his daughter, Meadow, just 15 years old when she lost her father, shared a private home video on social media that had never been seen publicly before. In it, you hear Walker laughing, startled, completely at ease, ordinary, alive. She captioned it with words that, to this day, get quoted in tribute videos. A simple goodbye, wrapped in love. So what's the actual lesson hiding inside this story? It's not that Paul Walker had some mystical sense his time was up. The documented record doesn't support that. What it shows is something far more human. And frankly, more disturbing if you really sit with it. The line between an ordinary afternoon and a permanent tragedy can be a single sentence wide. Let's go for a drive. That's it. That's the whole warning anyone got. If this story affected you, you're not alone. Comment sections on this topic, even years later, are still full of people processing it for the first time. Before you go, ask yourself, what would you want your last ordinary sentence to be, if you want to understand what really happened in those final 90 seconds? Second by second, that's a story for another video. Subscribe so you don't miss it.